Last time I created this cabinet, and I had said that this was a series of creating models for relative beginners. We're doing this just for fun, and we're not freaking out about topology, the right way to do things, the wrong way to do things. We're also not freaking out about materials, because there's a lot to freak out about there, at least for people like me. We're here to model, and I think later on we'll come back and we'll do some materials, maybe once we've made 3 or 4 or 5 of these cool little things. All right, so let's model. We can still make OpenGL renders. If you want to go ahead and slap some materials on yourself, by all means, or you can wait a little while and come back to me and we can do it together. All right, this time I want to model this. Very simple stuff. But if you're a relative beginner, maybe there's something you can pick up from this, or just get inspired by seeing me model these cool little items. I love doing simple things like this and building little scenes. It's a lot of fun, and we're not trying to do a rocket ship or a gun right now. We're doing this. All right. I'm in Blender 2.79b. In case you have missed the discussion, I've come back. All right, and I feel very happy to be back here. 2.8 is amazing, but it's not for me, not right now. Okay, so I'm going to delete that. I'm going to take the cube, and I'm going to hold Control and the up arrow here, the Z arrow, and just go plop and bring it up. What are you still doing there? Screencast keys are on. Here's my cube. I'm going to go into edit mode, and I'm going to look at this guy. I'm going to go into face selection, and I'm going to say, okay. I'm not going to snap anything. I'm just going to sort of pull it up and say, does that look a little bit like a nightstand dimensions? Okay, not too bad. Maybe a tiny bit taller. Okay, without the legs. All right, so what have we got to do? Let's analyze the diagram a little bit first. It's basically a cube. All right, we've got a cutaway here, and we've got a drawer. We also on the bottom have an extra little piece that looks like it's recessed underneath with the 4 legs. We'll deal with that later. Now notice this brown line here, if you can see it here. Okay, and the thickness of the brown line coming up. And then we have a sort of a thinner brown line here of relatively equal size. and then the drawer. All right, there's different ways of doing this, but let's see how we could do this up. Now, if we take and cut this cube with an edge loop right there, we can have a section for the books, and we can have a section for the drawer. So let's do that. All right, so here's what I've got. There's my front view. All right, so I'm going to go Control R, click and drag, and say, if I put my drawer about there, maybe even down a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to bring in another edge loop up near the top, and that's going to create this little section here at the very top there. So I have that one and that one. Now I want to get them relatively equal. They don't have to be exact. I'm not worried about it. Let's just have fun modeling. So if this is the space, so let me switch over to face selection. That's the width of that area. And all I've got now is that could be the drawer, but that's the width of that area. Then I'm going to switch to edge selection, Shift Alt and click there. This is just a single line. I'm going to go Control B and I'm going to pull. And I'm going to try to roughly match that width there and there. Okay. All right. What about on the bottom? Okay. That brown area is thicker than that. It looks like it's about twice as thick. So let's bring in an edge loop. Bring it down here, and imagine that maybe that region down there. That is maybe about twice as thick as that. Okay. All right, well, I'm not just going to make my indent there in my drawer there, because there's also brown on the sides, pretty much equal to that. Now you could try to be exact, but we don't need to. Control R, roll your mouse wheel up once, click, right click, and SX, scale in the X, and pull out until we have about an equal width here, that, and that. And that's good enough. Okay, let me switch to face selection and show you. If that's our drawer and that's our indent, that's going to be okay. However, as I look at this, I think maybe it is a bit too deep. On the other hand, it is pretty square, isn't it? Well, I'm going to A to select it all, and I'm going to SY a little bit. I just feel a little bit better about that. Okay, now let's do the indent. Select that face right there, and we're going to hit E to extrude, and we're going to pull back in the Y on the Y arrow. I'm going to hit 3 to look from the side and Z and go into wireframe, and I'm going to pull this right back to near the end. I might go for an equal thickness here as to this, but really no one's going to see that far in. So let's have a look here. Okay, that's going into there. Now, to do the drawer, there's different things here. Usually what I do is this. I usually hit E to extrude and actually pull out just a little bit like that to create the drawer. There's different ways to do it, but I think that's what I'm going to do. Let me put on a bevel here. All right, I'm going to set this to 2. I'm going to switch this to 0.04 for now, so we can see. I find that in 3D, drawers tend to look good like that. It's very obvious that it's a drawer. It might look a little different from the diagram, and if you want to mess around getting it all flush and everything, but then you need a little line inside here so that you could see that the drawer could come in and out. We could do that as well, but I'm just going to do it this way. So there's the beginning of my cabinet. I put on a bevel. I'm not going to apply it. I'm just going to leave it. All right. Now, another thing you can do when you do your bevel, if you look down here, you can choose either none or angle. So watch this corner right here. All right. Depending on your edges and stuff, you can decide which one you like, and maybe that's too much, 0.03. Okay, so now it looks a little rough here, but if I did go to even an OpenGL, it's somewhat smoother. I'm not putting on smoothing, I'm just leaving it like that. Okay, so well, we're almost done, to tell you the truth. Let's do a handle. All right, the way I like to do my handle is I'm going to come in and make sure that I select this face right here, and I'm going to copy it, Shift D, and then with it copied and still selected, I'm going to hit S to scale. This face here is right on top and still part of this model. So I'm not going to lose my selection. Scale in the Z, make it a bit narrower. Let's have a look again. Always go back and forth. All right, it's still right in the middle. Let's scale this in the X a little bit if I want. Okay, now I'm just holding down, what am I holding down? Shift, by the way, and my middle mouse button to like move around and position it. I'm going to hit E to extrude, and I'm going to pull in the Y direction out a little bit to get the thickness of the handle. And that's about as thick as I want it. Okay, but this thing is on like 2 little posts that go in, so we're going to create those. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm actually creating, the post part is going to come out at us, and then I'm going to rotate this thing around because it's easier to do it this way. You'll see what I mean. Okay, so with that right there, I'm going to go Control R, and I'm going to put 2 edge loops, roll my mouse till I get 2, click, and then I'm going to scale in the X, those edges, pull them out so that this area right here, switch to face selection there, and this area right there are going to form the posts or the poles. I don't think they're called that, but so I'm going to hold down Shift. I'm going to get the other one. I'm going to hit E to extrude, and I'm just going to pull out. Okay, see the way the handle's starting to form, but it's backwards from the way it's going to be, but that's okay. With those faces selected, they're going to be into the drawer, so I'm going to delete them. Select a piece, Control L to get it all. Rotate X 180, and now it's going back in. Push it in like that, and then come out and have a look and decide if that's a decent size. Okay, if we do an OpenGL preview again, there it is. Looks convincing enough. Cool. Let's do the base now. Okay, looks to me like it doesn't come all the way out to the edge, so here's how I'd like to do that. Here's the box. By the way, let's turn the grid off and display grid floor. All right, come into the bottom, and you can see, let's deselect that. I've got this face and I got these faces. Okay, This one's right in the middle though. So I'm going to use this to build that other section. I'm going to copy it, Shift D. I'm going to scale this in the Y just so that it looks like it's equal to this thickness, this space right here. And then I'm going to globally scale it a bit more. So it's just right underneath. And then I'm going to break it away from this model. I'm going to go P, separated by selection, go back into object mode, and then click on it again. My transform tool is here because it believes it's part of this object still, or it was. Set origin to geometry. So here's my new piece. It's the right sort of width that we want. Let's go into edit mode, select it, and I can bring it back almost a touch. I still want to be able to select it. Then I go extrude, and then give it some thickness. It's still got the bevel because we created it from here. It's inherited the bevel modifier, which is great. So let's just think about how thick we want to make this. It's not very thick, so we can start with that. And we are going to deselect for a second, so bring it up and imagine that that connects under there. Is it wide enough? Should it come out further? Whatever. Whatever, we'll make the legs off that, okay? So we can get rid of some back faces, so let's do that. And I'm probably not doing a very good job of doing that all around. Let's select that face, X faces. Everything is beeping at me today. Let's select the whole thing, bring it back into position, and then we can decide, do we want it a bit wider? If we do, we're going to scale it in the X and in the Y, but not in the height. So I could go S, Shift, Z, and pull, and I can get it a little bit. Hold down Shift, doing smaller increments. Maybe it's not balanced quite yet. Maybe I got to go S, Y, and pull. That looks a little bit more. Yeah, that's going to be fine anyhow. And with the bevel, it's going to be obvious that there's another piece there. Okay, cool. Well, now we're going to make the legs. Oh, not that guy. Now, these legs are basically cubes as well, and then we're just going to angle them. So, to make them, let's just use this piece. All right, let's Shift D and S to scale. Let's look from the bottom, Control 7. Let's make it a little bit smaller. And let's go G and grab and move it right into the corner, relatively into the corner. And then see if that's a reasonable size to start with. That might be still a little bit big. So let's scale it down. Okay, let's try this. Let's go extrude. Let's pull it down in the Z direction. Let's get the height before we worry about anything else. Okay, so they're relatively long, and as I look at them, they're really not quite that wide. So let's Control L to select the whole thing again. Let's scale it, but not in the Z. S, Shift Z. Let's make them somewhat thinner. Like that. Let's try that. Okay. Now they also taper inwards, so let's select just the bottom face and S to scale. I'll just pull it in like that. And at this point, I think I'm just going to go like that. Angle it out a bit. And then one more manipulation. Well, a couple more things to do, but let's grab this edge that's facing the inside. I'm just going to pull it in a little bit. Is that what I want to do? No, it's not the one. I take it back. Let's not do that. Let's take this edge up at the top there. I'm going to pull it a bit more like that. Okay. And that's going to be my leg. Okay. But it's still attached to here, and I want to delete some faces, so I'm going to go Control L. I'm actually going to go P. Break it out again. Select it and set origin to geometry. Okay, so what do I want to get rid of? Well, I want to get rid of, in face selection, this bottom face. And I'm going to select it. I'm going to just pull it down. I'm going to get rid of this top face as well. It's going to change my bevel a little bit, make it a little cleaner. I'm going to pull that so it contacts. And at this point, I can look and I can go G and I can position this a little bit differently if I want to. All right, that's all right, probably. Okay, so let's have this go on all sides. Let's mirror this. The 3D cursor is on this thing, I believe, but to make sure that it's central, let's select this bottom piece and go set origin to geometry and Shift S, cursor is selected. Now my 3D cursor is right in the middle of this piece, which is going to determine how the mirror works. So I want to mirror these around with respect to this. I'm going to select this piece now, and my transform tool is here. I want to set that to my 3D cursor. So I'm going to set the origin to 3D cursor. With my legs still selected, my origin is the 3D cursor. Now I can mirror and rotate around this point. So I'm just going to go over to add modifier, mirror, and you can see one already has gone in. And we're also going to choose not the Z, but the Y, sorry about that. And we will get all of our legs right there. So A to deselect, or Alt A if you're in 2.8. So hopefully that looks okay and somewhat like these. All right. And yeah, all right, let's have a quick look. Let's render in the viewport. All right, that's what it looks like. Cool. Those look a little high to me. And I'm not so crazy about that relative to the rest of it. So I think I'm coming in here, and I think I actually want to do something to change this. I'm going to go into wireframe, and I'm going to go into vertex, and I'm going to box select here. I end up getting just the one because all these other ones are mirrored. Now, as I look from the front, as I move these a little bit, everything's going to shift around a bit, but that's okay. I'm just going to go G, pull it up. That'll angle it a little bit more, but I don't like the height, and I'm just going to go S to globally scale it and see if I'm happier with that, those sort of dimensions. I wanted them a little stubbier. Okay, great. Well, all we have to do now is make the books, and maybe we'll make that thing. Okay, these books are very square, so that makes it really simple for making books. Because they're going to be positioned right here, I'm actually going to come into this object, go into edit mode, and in face selection, I'm going to select that piece. Might as well use that to make my book. Shift D, S to scale, drag it out. It's still associated with this, so let's go P, break it out, select it, and set the origin to that thing, to the geometry. That's pretty much a square, so let's select it and just manipulate it. Let's scale on the X a little bit. Maybe we'll make it that shape roughly. Okay. And to make this as a book, I think what we actually need to do is, let me have a little quick look. Okay, they're in that orientation. So I'm going to scale this again, actually in the X and in the Y, so that it's sort of laying, the spine's going to be here. I'll show you. Let's extrude up. This is going to be the back of the book where the title would be, and the paper is going to be in here. And so let's select these faces here. All right. And what I'm going to do is, looking sort of from the side, I'm going to hit I for inset. I'm going to pull in a little bit. You imagine that this is the back of the book, and there's the paper. All that blue's the paper. Okay, so I've inset. I'm going to hit E to extrude, Alt S, and push a little bit, just like that. And keep your eye right about here to see as the paper goes in. And that's it. All right, that's our book right there. Okay, let's set the origin of geometry. It may have changed a little bit. Let's slide her back in. And we have a book, and it seems to be laying right on the surface. Very nice. Let's just look at the size and see if we like it. That would be this bottom yellow one. You want to position it differently. That's all up to you. Let's go. And is it deep enough? Hopefully. Yeah, I mean, whatever. It's a book. It looks book shaped. So Shift D. Let's bring another one up and look from the front. And I'm gonna, let's see, how big do I want this one? I think this is a thinner book. Moved over to the side a little bit, so we'll just go like this a bit. Just to stagger, and we can scale in the Z. We're in object mode, but we can do that. And if we want it to lay really nicely on top of this, I can switch over to snap, and I'm going to choose face. Okay, and I'm going to pull with my arrow and sort of put my mouse over this face, and it just quickly snaps down. And turn that off. I can hit Control to turn that back on. So let's go Shift D. Let's bring another one up and see how big is this one going to be. Sort of thin and long. So let's scale this in the X a little bit and scale it in the Z. And let's see where we're going to position this one. It's going to be over here a bit. And maybe I want it out. No, I think I want it in. Yeah, let's have it come out. It looks like it comes out a bit. Okay, bring it up. I want to snap it, so I can hold Control, and it's on face. So I'm going to Control. I'm going to pull down, and there it is. It's up to you how many books you want to make. Now, okay, maybe I'm going to make all of these books a little thicker, scale in Z, so that it looks, I'm going to hit Control, and I'm going to snap to this face with all of them. So it just looks a little bit right, like the orientation is a bit better. Shift D, I'll do one more. Let's make this thick so it fills up. Okay, and bring it over here. Bring it right about there. And let's hold down Control and snap to there. Okay, I'm not sure I like the position. That one's going in. And there we have it. Our books and our little dresser thing. Okay. Of course, if we felt that it didn't match the dimensions of this looks pretty nice. It is a bit rectangular, but it's a bit more square. If we looked at ours and said, I'm not sure that I like the shape of that, I mean, we can still go in and do stuff about that in wireframe. We can take this, that'll affect the books, but I can pull it all up if I think it's just not quite the right shape. It needs to be more like that, in which case I would then have to go around and just, you know, move a few items, and that might be worth doing. I can snap again, I can bring it up, I'm gonna go Control plus, I don't know why I say Control plus, it's whatever, and I'll take this in the legs, and I don't worry about snapping, I'm just gonna pull that out and in a little bit, and perhaps that's a more pleasing shape. All right, so you don't always get it on the first time. Okay, the little thing on top is, it's too easy to do, so select that, Shift D, scale. It looks like a nice nice square there. How's the sizing? It's very narrow on the bottom, like that. Okay, I'm gonna hit E to extrude, pull up, S to scale, do that kind of thing. Not too much. How much? Okay. All right, now I'm gonna Control L. That's gonna select the parts that are linked to it. It's still part of the dresser, so I'm gonna break it out and make it a new object on its own. Selected the transform tool, still part of the dresser, so that's origin of geometry. Let's go back in, select that face, X, faces, delete them. And we have that, but there's no thickness to this. It's very, very, you know, very, very thin. So let's come over here, and under the bevel, let's put solidify, and I'm going to delete, leave the default values. You can try bringing it above and see if you like it more. I don't like it as much there, so I'm going to leave it there. And you can decide if you want to delete the bottom face of this. If I go Shift H, that hides everything but this. Let's try deleting it. We can rebuild it. Let's go Alt H to bring everything back, but in object mode. And we can decide if that's pleasurable thing, view. I don't know. It's up to you. I don't really like it like that, so I'm going to go back and get a little bit of roundness there. Alt H, bring it back, and then just leave it like that. Maybe this does need to be a bit thicker. So there we go. It looks a little bit more realistic. Maybe even a bit smaller. I'm going to Shift C. That's going to bring the 3D cursor right back to the middle and refocus everything. And that is our dresser. Okay. And if we view it from kind of a similar angle as this one, you know, it looks something like that. And we've created that. Cool. Well, As I said, we'll come back in later episodes and we'll think about maybe putting some materials. The idea again is just to model and have some fun with our basic modeling to get those skills going. Cool. All right. Thanks for watching.